Hello and welcome! In this video, we will discover 10 texting rules every guy should know. Many men, when they start texting a girl, simply don't know what they are doing and very often fail with every single message, not realizing that the girl didn't like them, not because of their appearance, but simply because they didn't know how to interact with her and keep her interested in them all the time. So, what are the main purposes of texting a girl? They're obvious. You want to stay in touch at those times when you're not together. After getting her phone number, an SMS message is an option on how to begin a conversation. We use text messages to lift our relationship to a higher level, and it's a good. I believe the growing preference for texting has a lot to do with its impersonal nature. It's much easier to launch a new relationship by exchanging texts than it is to talk. It's also very easy to say and do things over a screen that one would never have the nerve to do face-to-face or say ear-to-ear. That would make things easier, I suppose, but it also creates new problems. A large part of communication is nonverbal. When texting, the other party cannot receive those fine nuances of communication, such as tone of voice, held-back giggles, excited breathing, or body language that demonstrates anxiety, happiness, or growing irritation. Texting, it seems, is here to stay, but there need to be some rules in place. How do you manage to have an effective communication with your girlfriend so that it doesn't seem needy, boring, or unattractive? In this video, you'll discover 10 golden rules of texting that you can use in your text communication to avoid neediness and become more attractive to your girlfriend. Just before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to download your free book to successfully seduce any girl by clicking on the link in the description below. Never text while on a date. You'd think everyone would know this already, but I guess common sense isn't really common. Texting while in a face-to-face conversation is just as rude as blabbing away on a call. If you're on a date and you want to see that person again, don't sit there texting or twittering the whole time, or part of the time, or even at all. That includes your best friend trying to sneakily find out how things are going, the masters of electronically transmitted whining, the kids, or an angry ex who saw you and your date in the restaurant parking lot. Manners and courtesy must reign supreme. Texts should never replace real conversations. You need to learn how to communicate with your partner in person. Texting can make you feel brave because you don't have to look someone in the eye when you say something, but that's the coward's way out. When it comes to expressing serious thoughts and feelings, stick to face-to-face. Texting is only for transmitting unimportant information or short and simple messages, not an in-depth conversation. More than 4 texts in a row, it's time to pick up the phone. Like I said, the inherently impersonal nature of texting allows someone to keep in touch and keep fantasies of a relationship alive, but maintain emotional distance by never spending time with you. I've known guys to do a cut and paste type of thing and send the same text to a dozen women at almost the same time. It's a time-saving way to cast a wide net and see who will let him come over for sex. Once you have a good story to tell, don't waste it over a text message. Girls aren't big on having huge conversations through text. If you're texting her everything that happens to you, you'll have nothing to talk about when you're together. You don't want your relationship milestones to happen when you can't even see her face. The first time you say I love you when you decide to move in together, those are the kinds of things that should always happen when you're in the same room. If you've been drinking, back away from the keypad. People will say and do things with firewater in their systems that they would never do if sober. What types of things have I heard, you ask? Sexual invitations to people known to have no interest, fights from months ago renewed with vigor due to unresolved anger, personal questions asked, and personal information volunteered in a straight bonehead move. Liquid courage does that to people. Though alcohol doesn't put ideas into our heads, a little booze relaxes the constraints we have in place on our mouths and our fingers. So if you've been to happy hours or had a few martinis at home, do not send anyone a text. Your texting privileges are revoked until you are 100% sober. Do not send compromising photos. Are people these days crazy? What in the world is going on with this sexting stuff? Why would females send pictures of naked body parts, including their genitalia, over cell phones? Young ladies, not only are such behavior classless, but it's also ridiculously dangerous. And if the sender or receiver of a sexually oriented text is a minor, it's also illegal. The long-term repercussions of this type of loose attitude about one's body have concerned me for a long time. Women are likely to be humiliated to discover that they are the brunt of jokes, as guys will often share the sexy texts they get from random women with their buddies and have a good laugh. Then you'll be labeled, and it won't be flattering. Think before you act. Also important to remember is that some folks don't do well with breakups, and their vindictiveness spews forth like an erupting volcano. Your pictures or videos could end up anywhere on the internet, in a magazine, movie, or photo composite with someone else's body doing something awful, topped off by your face. Don't double text. It's one thing to send a couple of texts all at once. It's another to send several follow-up texts when she hasn't replied to the first within a few minutes. If you're always questioning where she is, what she's doing, who she's with, how are you ever going to build trust in the relationship? You're not her keeper, and you do not need to check in every 5 minutes. Just remember that a little space goes a long way. And at the very least, don't text her until she responds. This is especially important in the early days of dating. If you text her way too much, she'll get the impression that you're a stage 5 clinger, and this is the least attractive thing you can do when you first meet a girl. Instead, take a deep breath and play it cool. Be patient. Understand that there are a ton of reasons why she won't text back right away. She could be busy with work, school, friends, or family. Do not text the ex. You need to close the door on that relationship for good. Stop making a virtual relationship an exception. She needs to be out of your life and out of your phone. Don't let texting be your weakness. Block her number and then delete her sorry ass, because you deserve more than a text message apology. If you really want to get over her, then this is one texting rule you should never break. Asking for dates by text is a no-no. Texting to set up a date is bogus. Have the courage to speak up and risk rejection like a big boy or girl. Yeah, I know, you're a recent returnee to the dating scene. Talking to someone you don't know well feels awkward, and asking for a date when you might hear no is scary. But one of the top qualities singles seek is a confident partner that goes after what he or she wants. Confident, secure people have an air about them that is very sexy. Passive, hesitant, insecure people do not. Use proper grammar. Bad spelling and improper grammar are actually one of the biggest turnoffs in modern dating. You can still use your texting shorthand, but too much of it makes you look like you're still in middle school. It's time to grow up, and at this point in life, you should be pretty familiar with basic English. A mistake here or there, despite autocorrect, is no big deal, but if your messages are barely readable, don't be surprised when the relationship heads straight to nowhere. Don't text like a teenager. Learn to make sure that your text messages are well written, short, and sweet. Girls don't like reading a novel, especially if it's about something serious. Save the relationship talk for in person. Texting is just a means to make your girl feel good and to set up a real-life date. Remember this the next time you want to bring up something serious through texting. The least you can do in a text message that probably spans the course of 3 sentences is check your spelling. It's not like you're being asked to proofread someone's novel. If it takes 20 seconds to make sure you spelled the conjunction of "you-are" as Y-O-U'-R-E and not Y-O-U-R, then I'd say it's worth it. Don't always respond too early or too late. Again, I don't condone playing mind footsie with your woman even when they play hard to get. If you respond to her text messages immediately, she'll feel like you're too available. But along the same lines, if you don't respond for a few days, she'll lose interest, because she'll feel like you're just not into her anymore. I know it's tempting, but play hard to get, at least a little. Wait 20 to 30 minutes before firing off a response text message. Remember, you are busy and important. The key is to sometimes respond in a timely manner, and to sometimes wait a few hours to reply. But there's no harm in faking it until you make it. Once you get the hang of this easy-to-follow rule, your girl will be following you around like a lost puppy dog. Never fight over text. In any relationship, you're always going to have your disagreements, but the best way to deal with those speed bumps is by having an in-person conversation. Texting hides tone, and more often than not will escalate a fight rather than resolving it. If you really want to work through your issues, save the fights for when you're together and you can both have the best opportunity to convey your feelings. Text messaging isn't necessarily a tool of the devil, but there can be quite a bit of misinterpretation and miscommunication if not used correctly. Texting is a great way to stay connected to someone you are madly in love with, and a useful tool to touch base with casual or new dating partners. However, texting is not and never will be a replacement for a heartfelt telephone conversation full of sighs and laughter. While text messaging is generally seen as pretty unromantic, it can actually be a very useful dating tool. I believe that, when done right, text messages are actually useful in the beginning stages of building a relationship. Think about it. Texting allows you to have a constant stream of communication with an individual that you are seeing, not as an alternative, but rather in addition to calling an added value to traditional phone conversation. Specifically, I love getting text messages from people just to say good morning or good night. A basic "how are you" or "how is your day" text message is a nice, welcome interruption in the middle of a day. Sometimes the simplest text messages can seem the most romantic. Something as seemingly mundane as an "I'm thinking about you" text message can be an incredibly sweet gesture, and when used correctly, a well-crafted text message can put butterflies in your sweetie's stomach and stars in their eyes. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and especially subscribe to the channel. You're also free to receive the new book, 9 Keys to Seduce Any Girl, by clicking on the link in the description below.